Beautiful Ballito as you join us here for the QS 10,000. It is the World Surf League's qualifying series. Another big heat here to keep you riveted. Watch for H.Ohhara from the land of the rising sun. He's up against K.King, the Australian. E.Geiselman, someone that you will know a lot about, Sal Masekela, is in the blue singlet. V.Bernardo, who had a strong showing here over the last few visits to Ballito, is the Brazilian in the heat. Absolutely. Watching the action here, this is that E.Geiselman. Of course, the Geiselman brothers just oozing with talent, and the work being done here by the Floridian as he slams away through to the inside. You know, this set of brothers almost reminds me of the Lopez brothers from a decade or more back.
In Waco, with everyone at the Air Festival. But I love Evan just because he just doesn't waste any of a wave. It's just technique and style all mixed together, and the ability to just do what needs to be done.
Alongside me, the great Sal Masekela. And what about a quick reply here from E.Geiselman, oozing talent all over the park here in Ballito this beautiful lunchtime.
And he didn't think that was something that made any sense. As you see E.Geiselman, nice little float there, but nothing left on that wave.
And you were born in the United States.
Yeah, my dad chose to leave because basically he was breaking all the rules. K.King on his backhand. Nice. As we're getting really busy.
Here's H.Ohhara. We're just following the live action in between all the discussions here. Of course, Sal Masekela, son of the late Hugh Masekela. Well, here goes V.Bernardo. Let's just talk surfing action just quickly here. I was going to describe him as a mixture between a Mikey February and a Jordy Smith, but from Brazil. He's one of those taller surfers, gets a lot of angle and a lot of projection as well, Sal.
Yeah, it looks like he's holding on to some power. So I always grew up as Evan waves hello to his fellow competitor on that roundhouse. Look at this kid's technique in these little small waves. Makes the most of that little end section. First time I finally was able to come was when my dad was able to come home 30 years later, and I was 19 years old. So, but I was already surfing, right? So be able to come here and see this region as a surfer it's just, you know. But I was a kook that also didn't look like anybody else in the water, and some kids didn't know how to deal with that as Hiroto. Smashing.
Ohhara here. Smashing Sal. Well, watching Ohhara here. My apologies. Of course, we had two Hirotos in the draw here. Ohhara working hard here to try and up his numbers. Still plenty of time left in this heat. We will talk lots of surfing. I want to just keep drilling into the topic of, well, it's the topic of apartheid. It's the dissolving of apartheid. It's acceptance of black people into board sports.
For these kids, this is a life. This is surfing not as like a just as a privilege, but as like literally the ability to change the course of people's lives. V.Bernardo unable to get that second turn there. These kids who were street kids, you know, facing every unspeakable thing on earth at the ages of 7, 8, and 9. Surf therapy being used to help kids who are dealing with various types of diseases.
Hearing more and more that the medical profession are turning to surfing as an antidepressant as well.
Yes.
Literally as a prescription.
Woo!
Oh, look at that.
Speaking of prescriptions, V.Bernardo.
Well, the doctor will recommend a big dose of that, because V.Bernardo is bringing himself right into the heat here. Our fourth place surfer here, Sal.
Yeah, you can see the way he eyes up this section, sets up this first turn, but he was playing the long game as he came into this one. The layback recovery on that fat high tide section of the landing.
Let's go back to the numbers for E.Geiselman, 617, as we see him now having another shot at this one. Yeah, uses the priority to go left, split peak, but big spring there as Geiselman will go to the air. And as that water's filling in on the bank here, Sal, we're getting a little air show underway. Have a look at the split peak though first.
Look at this setup, loads it up mid-face, places it perfectly down. Casual, no claim. It's 0.3 for V.Bernardo, so just beneath what he was looking for to advance in the second, but he does find himself in third. K.King.
Wow.
We talk about strong combos. That was a heavy combo.
King running down the line. We don't have a score yet for this one, Sal.
Love that little setup turn and just blast with the frontside grab. My father's passion for South Africa and his belief that apartheid would end and that the world world needed to know about how magic Africa was as a continent. As you see, Victor Bernardo unable to make that air together and crosses across so many cultural lines, for sure. As we see, this young Brazilian Victor Bernardo here trying to whip it around. Think about you don't get a backup score you don't advance. It's the bottom line. And here's Victor Bernardo, nice first turn, taps that section, just gets into that fat part of the end bit there. Is he going to be able to find a backup, drop that 3.83?
Well,
H.Ohhara.
H.Ohhara comes around the section. This could be a very important wave in the context of the heat. We're moving down inside the last minute and strong combination of turns from the Japanese. You mentioned John John's injury, but let's break this one down.
Yeah, Hirato, you could see he was like, oh, this has actually got some size to it. And navigates all that weird backwash. Gets to this section a little late, but still, does the work.
Is that enough, and is it too little too late, Sal? Here's the man that has been in flow. We spoke of the pedigree of E.Geiselman. Down the line he tracks. Watch him go to the air. Oof. Incomplete, Sal, but still some entertainment for us here.
With just seconds to go here in this heat.
Here goes K.King. He'll be trying to defend that. He's used a priority here to fetch a nice little left-hand runner. It is beautiful see-through water conditions here at Ballito, and this is a great little effort here to input. The long hair of K.King just flows there along with the turns all the way to the inside. Sal, do you think he shut the door there on Bernardo and O'Hara?
Yeah, that's a wrap. If he's going to hold to it, it might have just been a fantasy.
Well,
but,
folks,
great heat.
Yeah, great stuff. Great being with you. The voice of Sal Masekela will throw to a break, and we'll continue here at the QS 10,000 from South Africa.